Lalo THR here. The New Day are indeed about to experience a new day and a new company when they join All Elite Wrestling. Let me preface this audio transmission with the fact that I like the New Day. I'm a fan of the New Day. I didn't like them at first when they first bursted onto the scene, but I have grown to love this act, and that's actually more impressive when somebody is not really a fan of a wrestler, of an act, and then eventually they grow into it and begin to become fans. That's way more impressive than if you've just always been a fan of a certain wrestler's work. Because a lot of people may not even be aware that the New Day, when they first bursted onto the scene as the New Day, they were a heel faction. I remember, like, they were like kind of supposed to be the modern day Nation of Domination, like the millennial young Gen Z version of Nation of Domination when they first bursted onto the scene. It was Xavier Woods and Kofi and I don't even know if Biggie was even there yet or not. I just seem to remember Xavier Woods and Kofi first, and they were like Xavier Woods in particular coming out in like a suit, like a tuxedo or something, and they were like kind of trying to give off like Malcolm X type of vibes, and like I don't know, but they were a heel faction at first. And I was like, oh, okay, it's interesting. I didn't dislike them. I was just more like kind of indifferent, like, okay, whatever. So this is just gonna be like a modern day Nation of Domination type of deal. But eventually, obviously, New Day became what they became, which was one of the hottest selling merch acts in the business. Very popular, in demand. Everybody loved them. Their entrances always something unique, always felt special. But guys, I have to be honest with you. The New Day act has ran its course for at least almost a decade now. Like almost, when I say almost a decade, I'm talking the better part of 5-6 years now. I feel like the New Day has ran its course already. Now does that mean they deserve to get released? Does that mean they deserve to get fired unceremoniously by WWE? No, it doesn't. And they were not fired unceremoniously, but they were offered that pay cut. See, WWE's new strategy and how they release talents now is, instead of outright releasing talents, if it's certain talents like the New Day, for instance, who have that longevity, who have that seniority, WWE brass is gonna offer them a pay cut. Okay, maybe we won't release you, we'll keep you, but we'll offer you a 50% pay cut. Something along those lines. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but to my understanding, that's what they're doing now. And obviously, people with self-respect, like the New Day, like Kofi Kingston, a former world champion, mind you, and Xavier Woods, two guys who have devoted their time, their bodies, their health, their well-being to this company for over a decade, well over a decade. I remember Kofi Kingston bursting onto the scene in 2007 as a Jamaican guy with a Jamaican accent, Trouble in Paradise in 2007. So that's almost 20 years that Kofi's been in the game. Xavier Woods, I want to say he came a little bit later to WWE. I remember he used to be like Consequences Creed or something like that in TNA wrestling. But nonetheless, they have devoted a lot of time to this company, man. They have been with WWE for a long time, and they were pretty much the quintessential lifers, of WWE. At least that's what we would all assume, but it's not to be. Nobody nobody is safe, man. Everybody is expendable. You know what I mean? Everybody can get cut loose at any. Well, who am I kidding? They're not gonna fucking offer Roman Reigns a 50% pay cut deal. I think if they did that to Roman, he would probably legitimately laugh. Like, bro, y'all are crazy. I'll be talking to Tony Khan right after this. Actually, I'm out. But any wrestler with self-respect who has given their time and body as long as the New Day has are going to scoff at any pay cut. At any pay cut. And it's actually not even right when it comes to them in particular, because I read that beginning this year was supposed to be the first year of their new 5-year deal that they had just recently signed. You know, so then for WWE to come back around and be like, all right, well, even though you signed this deal here, we're actually gonna offer you a brand new deal. You know, and if you accept it, cool. If not, we're gonna have to release you. 50% pay cut now. Which I don't even know how that works. Like if somebody's already contracted, how do you bypass that contract? Like I don't even you know, that just goes to show you my ignorance with business and these type of things. I just that don't even make sense to me. It's like I already have a contract. How are you guys gonna suddenly come up, you know, just print a brand new one out your ass and just completely bypass this contract that I've already signed? Like, how does that even work? You know what I mean? But, I mean, it's WWE, it's TKO. I mean, at this point, they could pretty much do whatever the hell they want, man. It's that powerful of a conglomerate. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods will be fine. They're gonna most likely go to AEW now. Of course, this is unconfirmed. But, you know, it ain't no secret, and it can't be any more obvious that they're gonna go to AEW. Because why wouldn't they? Tony Khan is gonna give them ridiculous contracts. And you know what? I say that, but they deserve it, though. They actually deserve it. Because, I mean, fuck, you know, it's Kofi Kingston, man. He's a former world champion. He's a guy... Kofi Kingston's a guy that I never thought would be world champion, okay? And much to my detriment, because I didn't think he would ever be champion, because he's just not the kind of guy WWE books to be champion. And no, not because he's black or anything like that. It's just because the dude's a little guy. He's a high flyer. He's, you know, I mean, guys like Rey Mysterio, they're an anomaly. You know, like Rey Mysterio's an anomaly. He's a legend. He's a lucha libre. He put lucha libre on the map. You know, he was close to Eddie Guerrero. Like, he's an anomaly. But like Kofi, I never would have imagined that they would have put the title on him ever. You know, he was in a comedy act with New Day, fucking playing a trumpet, or it was Xavier Woods playing a trumpet, but Kofi would come out and dance and jive and you know, do that silly shit, and you know, he's not a big guy. Like, I just never thought he would be a champion, you know? And the fact that he became a champion, even though, yeah, he lost it in fucking 1 minute flat against Brock Lesnar, which was very disrespectful, in all honesty. But, I mean, it is Brock Lesnar. I wouldn't expect it to be a competitive match, if I'm being honest. But still, all that to say, Kofi Kingston being world champion is fucking impressive. And he's a very talented worker. You know, no matter if he's doing the silly shit or not, Kofi Kingston is very talented. And, you know, he's somebody that deserves whatever contract AEW gives him. Xavier Woods, I mean, he's talented in his own right, not like Kofi. You know what I mean? Not as talented as Kofi, but he's talented in his own right. And you know what? Actually, Xavier Woods, I think he can offer a lot more to AEW beyond wrestling. You know, because Xavier Woods started the Up, Up, Down, Down YouTube channel outside of WWE's influence. And it grew to become a juggernaut. I used to watch it pretty loyally, actually. I used to be a subscriber, and I mean, I probably am still subscribed, but I haven't watched any content from that channel in forever, because what ended up happening is that channel got so big that WWE itself shut that shit down. They bought it. They bought that channel off of Xavier Woods. And they said, we want you to continue to host it, though, and do all the good things, the good shit that you do, but we want to own this shit, because this channel's too big now. This channel is like bigger. It's getting as big as the WWE channel, dog. Like, we gotta get a piece of this pie. So WWE put their foot down and bought that channel right out from under Xavier Woods. And I think they even had like a legal dispute about it too, or something along those lines for a little while, because WWE just not too long ago, they did some weird shit where they didn't allow wrestlers to have outside endeavors. Like, they couldn't even live stream. They couldn't do, you know, like let's plays and live streams, and they couldn't do shit outside of WWE. WWE wanted to completely own the wrestlers and their personal lives, even practically, you know. And that was wrong. That's actually, I think, now that I think about it, that was actually the reason that I want to say Adam Cole left, or Yeah, like Adam Cole didn't resign with because he wasn't released. I don't think. I don't know if Adam Cole was released by WWE because I seem to remember something about Adam Cole not wanting to give up his channel where he live streams and plays video games and shit, and WWE didn't want to let him do that. And so he left or something along those lines. If anybody at all in the world is listening to this, please correct me in the comments. If not, that's fine. I'll just look it up. But that happened with somebody where, you know, that was a big reason why certain people would leave, you know, a grand exodus out of WWE when they started doing that shit. I think they've changed their tune on that. I think WWE is a little more lax on that now. But yeah, it was just a few years ago. It wasn't when that was a Vince McMahon thing. I'm pretty sure when he was still in the chair, that was a big deal at the time. Nonetheless, I wish Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston the best, man. The person that I feel bad for more than anything when it comes to the New Day is Big E, man. Big E Langston. Big E is somebody who can never wrestle again. He could never step foot in the ring again. I think even if he would be cleared to compete, WWE most likely wouldn't allow him to. You know, kind of like a Bryan Danielson situation. Because Big E got his fucking neck broke on a really short belly to belly suplex at the hands of one Ridge Holland, who is no longer there. You know, that's somebody who deserves a fucking 50% pay cut, but he's no longer there. But Big E, now you have him doing the pre-shows, man. And every time, honestly, I don't really watch the pre-shows, but sometimes I'll like maybe I'll stick around for like just 5 minutes just to see like the energy of the crowd and if they have any additional announcements. And I look at Big E, man, and listen, I know Big E's happy. Like, Big E is just, bro, I want to be Big E when I grow up. Like, his energy, he's the New Day gimmick was not a gimmick for Big E, bro. Like, he's legitimately just a happy, good-natured person that's appreciative of life in general. Never mind whether he could wrestle or not. The man is just happy to be alive. Like, that's the kind of human being that we should all strive to be. Real talk. So I know it doesn't matter to him, but to me, when I see Biggie fucking sitting there with fucking Paul Rosenberg or whatever the fuck his name is, and you know, Michael Cole, whoever else is on the panel, I don't remember, some chick, it was a Kathy Redmond or I don't know, but like, bro, I feel miserable myself just looking at Biggie in that fucking, you know, oversized suit, standing there with these jabronis talking about, you know, the show. It's like, bro, Big E deserves to be in the mix in WWE, you know, kicking ass and taking names. And, you know, he had the world championship and didn't get to have a proper run. Like, I don't know, man, I just feel so bad. I know Big E doesn't. I know if he were to hear me saying this, he would probably be like, man, you're wasting your energy. Like, you're over there, you know, feeling worse off than I am. Like, I'm happy, I'm getting paid good, I'm just living life, and, you know, what I'm doing, I love what I'm doing, you know. But just as somebody who admires Big E as a wrestler, not just as a personality, but as a wrestler as well, I feel like he was one of those guys that we all thought could have been, you know, could have been, and like, he just never was. Like, he's a former world champ, you wouldn't know it. His title run was kind of forgettable, and then he got his neck broke, and now he has to hang out with these jabronis every PLE, and that's sad. That, to me, that's fucking sad. So Big E is the one I feel bad for more than Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, if I'm being honest. But nonetheless, let's shift the talk back to Kofi and Xavier Woods one last time before I sign off, because, you know, there is a match I do want to see with them in AEW, and that's New Day, whatever they'll be called in AEW, against the Young Bucks. That's literally a fantasy match that we've had that I've had, at least since I saw them do that Street Fighter tournament way back in the day. You know, this was literally like when AEW just started. It was like during AEW's Genesis in 2019, and you had the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega actually play some Street Fighter matches against the New Day. And it was an epic crossover at the time. I remember I was hyped. I was like, wow, we're seeing the New Day and the Elite go at it on Street Fighter. Like, bro, this is my WrestleMania right here. This is my Super Bowl right here. Like, it was a big deal at the time, you know. But so that's a match I would like to see for old time's sake. You know, it's a match we used to want. You know, that crossover was epic. Maybe they could reference that. But yeah, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods versus the Young Bucks. After that, I mean, I suppose we could see them work some matches with Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. I don't even remember what the hell they're called as a tag team. Dax and Cash, whatever. We could see them work some matches with them. I believe they may have worked together in WWE. I'm sure they have. FTR. Yeah, but you know, there's a few people that the New Day could work with. The AEW really needs to rebuild their tag team division. I haven't watched AEW in a long time though. I gotta be honest, but I'm pretty sure nothing much has changed. Because that's pretty much the reason why I stopped watching AEW is in the first place, because nothing ever changes, nothing ever goes anywhere. You know, it's just wrestling with a side of more wrestling. You know, and the few storylines that they do, just they don't go anywhere, man. They don't elevate nobody. You know, in the 7 years, going on 7 years now that they've been around, you know, they haven't built any real legit stars that could rival a Roman Reigns, that could rival a John Cena, you know, and that's unacceptable when it's a billionaire that's running this promotion. And you have a TV deal with TNT, TBS, and now you're streaming on HBO Max, and y'all can't build any stars. I mean, MJF, y'all didn't build MJF. I could already hear some AEW nerds shouting at me, they have MJF, Kenny Omega, what's his name? Swerve. Like, motherfucker, none of them are stars that AEW built. MJF was doing his thing in MLW long before AEW. Now, granted, yes, he became a bigger star on the AEW platform, but he ain't even on the level of a Roman Reigns, a John Cena, nothing like that, bro. Get the fuck out of here. You know, Swerve Strickland was a WWE guy. He also was in MLW, actually. MLW is a really underrated indie promotion. I gotta be honest. MLW is really underrated. You know, I feel like MLW, at least for a time, they were like better than TNA. They were a really, really good show. When they had Roosh and Swerve, and I forgot what Swerve's name was in that company. I think he might have been using his real name actually. But when they had him, when they had Swerve and Roosh and Mance Warner and La Parca Jr. and a bunch of good talents, man. I remember when Teddy Hart used to come out with his cat and sit his cat on the top turnbuckle, and I don't know, MLW was cool, man. It just had a certain vibe about it. Like, I felt like MLW could have been what TNA was in the early 2000s. In fact, I think it kind of was, but just nowhere near the scale of success. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, AEW really needs to rebuild its tag division, and who better than one Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston to show up and show out and perhaps restore the greatness that was the AEW tag team division.